The 7 Ravens. There was a man who had 7 sons and still no daughter, however much he wanted one. Finally, his wife was once more expecting a baby, and when it came into the world, it was a girl. Their joy was great, but the baby was frail and tiny, and was so weak that she had to be baptized immediately. The father sent one of his boys to the spring in haste to get water for the baptism. The other 6 went along too, and since they all wanted to be first to draw the water, the jug fell down the well. They stood there not knowing what to do, and none of them dared go home. When they still did not return, their father became impatient and said, "They must have forgotten about it because of some game again, the godless boys." He became afraid that the little girl would have to perish unbaptized, and in his anger he shouted, "I wish the boys would all get turned into ravens." Hardly had he uttered the words than he heard a whirring in the sky over his head, looked up, and saw 7 coal-black ravens flying to and fro. The parents could not take back the curse, and sad though they were about the loss of their 7 sons, yet they consoled themselves somewhat with their dear little daughter, who soon gained in strength and became prettier every day. For a long time she did not even know that she had had siblings, because her parents were careful not to mention them, until one day she chanced to hear people saying about her that true, the girl was pretty, but still she was really to blame for the doom that had befallen her 7 brothers. Then she was quite troubled, went to her father and mother and asked whether she had in fact had brothers, and what had become of them. And then the parents could no longer hide the secret, but said it had been the will of God, and her birth had only been the proximate cause. Only the girl brooded about it every day, and became convinced that she had to release her siblings. She could not find peace or relief, until she secretly rose up and went out into the wide world, to somehow track down her brothers and free them, no matter what the cost. She took nothing with her except a little ring of her parents to remember them by, a loaf of bread for when she was hungry, a little jug of water for when she was thirsty, and a little stool for when she was tired. Now on and on she went, far, far away to the end of the world. And there she found the sun, but she was too hot and furious, and ate small children. She ran away from her at top speed, and over to the moon. But he was very much too cold, and also terrible and gruesome, and when he noticed the child, he said, "I smell the scent of human flesh." Then she quickly made her escape, and came to the stars, and they were kind and welcoming to her, and each was sitting on its own little stool. But the morning star stood up, gave her a little knuckle bone, and said, "If you don't have the bone, you won't be able to unlock the glass mountain, and in the glass mountain, that's where your brothers are." The girl took the little bone, wrapped it up well in a kerchief, and went on again, all the way to the glass mountain. The gate was locked, and she went to take out the little bone, but when she unwrapped the kerchief, it was empty, and she had lost the kind star's gift. What on earth was she to do now? She was determined to save her brothers, but she had no key to the glass mountain. The good little sister took a knife, cut off one of her little fingers, fitted it into the lock, and happily unlocked it. When she walked in, a little dwarf came to meet her, saying, "My child, what do you want?" "I am looking for my brothers, the 7 ravens," she answered. The dwarf said, "My masters the ravens are not at home, but if you wish to wait until their arrival, you are welcome to come in." And with that the little dwarf brought in the ravens' dinners on 7 little plates and in 7 little goblets. And the little sister took a little crumb from each little plate and drank a little sip from each little goblet. But into the last little goblet she let fall the little ring that she had brought with her. All at once she heard a whirring and a rushing noise, and the little dwarf said, "Here come my masters the ravens flying home." Then they arrived, wished to eat and drink, and went to the little plates and little goblets. And then one after the other they said, "Who has eaten from my little plate? Who has drunk from my little goblet?" It was the mouth of a human being. And when the seventh reached the bottom of his goblet, the ring rolled into his beak, and he looked at it and recognized it as a ring belonging to his father and mother, and said, "God grant that our little sister should be here, then we will be redeemed." When the girl, who was standing behind the door listening, heard that wish, she came out, and then all the ravens regained their human form, and they hugged and kissed each other and joyfully went home.